5, pre-record. This is going to be the shortest of the pre-records because there's the least number of slides, but this is probably going to be one of the most critical for you to prepare in advance. We're now 5 weeks into the semester. You have a marketing plan due really soon. You are now 10 weeks at best away. So this week is about getting your hands dirty, getting some decisions made, getting some thoughts down on paper, but also about getting your first really good, hands-on bit of practical marketing done. This week, we're going to show you how to do segmentation. And we're going to show you how to pick a target market. And we're going to get you live in the room, for those of you who are there, either at your tutorials or at the lecture, to go and talk about what segment, why, and how. Because you are going to need to make these decisions in the marketing plan, and the earlier you make the decision, the easier the plan becomes to write. So with further ado, and a bit of theatrical flourish, let's get this party started. So, in order to prepare for the week 5 lecture, you need to have gathered your marketing plan together. Got yourself, if you're going for a group, get your group together. Have a product in mind. It doesn't have to be the product you eventually go with, but you need to have thoughts and said, here is the product I want to use for this lecture. So to prepare, you need a product. And then you are going to need to think through who uses this product, who do you want to have using this product. Because without that, this week's not going to work for you. And I don't want you wasting a week, because that's not a lot of fun. So, here's how it works. First thing is, marketing is inherently based on the concept of segmentation. The whole nature of the beast is we choose an audience who we are going to address with a marketing message, a marketing offer, an offer that has value, or who we're going to try and satisfy with an offering. Without a segment, we can't do the job. Marketers should not try and differentiate it. Although that's in the kit as a possibility, it's not our strength. So, at the moment, the modern era is one where media channels are plentiful. There are more YouTube channels than you can ever actually watch. There are more TV stations than you probably ever would want to watch. You can still watch all of them, but there's a certain point in time where after ESPN 12, Fox Sports 8, and the third fashion channel, you're going, I don't need all of these. So there's no mass market anymore. Back when there was only 5 TV channels, and each capital city had 2 newspapers and 4 radio stations, if you wanted to address an audience, you had a very limited way to get to them, but you only had a bunch of different places you needed to message, and you hit your entire captured audience. Now it's different. Now it doesn't work like that. So you need to know who the audience is, where they are, and a bit about them so you can get to them. So effectively, market segmentation is the practical applied use of the theoretical frameworks from consumer behaviour and the knowledge gathering tools of market research, done to implement a marketing strategy, because we are marketers and we either create, communicate, deliver and exchange offerings that have value, or we anticipate, satisfy consumer needs, wants. So we do it one of 2 ways. but the only way we can do it is if we know who it is, what they want, what their needs are, and how we can get to them. So segmentation is going to also form the backbone. And as you can see, we're rolling through semester, you're starting to see the parts assemble and build up. Your strategy is your big picture play. What do you want to achieve with this organisation? Your research is starting to be able to say, how do we get the knowledge we need to start implementing the big strategy, but what do we need to know about the people we're addressing directly? You come down to consumer behaviour. Consumer behaviour says people think in all these different ways and all these different elements are important to them. And in segmentation you say, okay, who's important? What are the specifics? So target market strategy is now what we're on for. And this, in your marketing plans, you will be asked to pick a single target market. Just the one. Because I want you as rookie marketers to focus your effort and your intentions around a single audience and a single product offer to that audience. That way you can really show you know what you're doing and you can really showcase your stuff, and you don't have to try and fit in a lot of complexity in a very small space by taking on 2 audiences. Because you've only got 4,000 words, and you don't want to divide that in 2 and try and do 2 marketing plans inside the one 4,000 word window now, do you? So in the target market strategy, what you do is you identify a large block, and this is the market. You find a group of people who you expect to act in reasonably similar ways and respond in a reasonably similar manner. And you start dividing up that block until such time as you have distinctive little clusters. And the distinctive little cluster is the market segment. And the market segment is basically a group of people who you expect will react in a similar manner to your offering, but their reaction will be different, or sufficiently different from that of their neighbouring segments to make it worth your time to address them directly. And the address them directly element here is either in the development of a distinct product for that segment, and or a distinct communication strategy for that segment, and or a unique pricing offer for that group, and or a distribution channel. So the marketing mix is going to be dependent on the market you pick, on the segment you're targeting. You can, when you're doing this in business, run multiple market segments with multiple marketing mixes supported by numerous marketing plans and a lot of marketing planning process. That's one of the practical realities about this job as a marketer, is that the tighter that your focus is and the more you can find the distinctive characteristics, the easier it becomes to put your product offer to that audience in a manner that makes sense to the audience, and you show them how this is a socially improved way of meeting their need, therefore this is a great way to satisfy that want. Now, in terms of things that are devastatingly simple on the surface, but the complexity goes for miles, this is a 3-step protocol. Segment, target, position. You quite often will see this in the marketing literature or marketing books as the STP. Segment, target, position. Kicking off with segmentation. So this is dividing up the market. As I said, devastatingly simple in how it's described, beautifully complicated, bordering on art form in how it's delivered. Split the market up, but the important thing is, when you do market segmentation and you split the audience into small little clusters with meaningful shared characteristics, keep your notes. what you'll find is that a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses and marketers start off, divide up their markets, and then find not long after they've been operating that the bordering markets. So you've gone out and said, look, we'll just target 18 to 21-year-old female university students with this product. And within 6 months of operation, you've discovered that you've got a whole bunch of 22-year-old male university students who are also buying it, so you've opened up a second market. Now, if you go back to your notes, you might have found that your priority target market was 18 to 21-year-old female, secondary market was 22 to 25-year-old male, tertiary market was 42 to 54-year-old female. And if you've got those notes and you've got your different segments, you've got your different markets identified, you can then start building on that existing knowledge and all the decisions you've made around it. But here for you, your first question is, how do I break up my market from everybody down to some very clearly defined groups of people? The segmentation comes with a package of segmentation variables that you use, and these link back to aspects out of consumer behaviour on a regular basis, because the most potent form of segmentation is the psychographic segmentation, the ability to know what people are thinking, needing, or wanting. So, your split down is demography, socioeconomic, life stage, lifestyle, psychographic. These are almost in order of their potency and their power, and in reverse order of their ease. Demography is one of the easiest things you can do. Demographics are the locations. This is where you are, what your age is, and a whole bunch of data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics on who you are, who you're likely to be, what your median age is, how many kids you have, a whole bunch of things like that. It's not as descriptive as would be useful, but it's still not bad. Odds are that there are certain demographic profile elements that will be valuable to you to know and to consider, but they're not the be-all and end-all. Just because someone is male doesn't necessarily wipe them out from wanting to buy a bunch of products that would be traditionally regarded as female. Vice versa. It is the 21st century, we are actually a modern civilised society, there are some fluidities through our gender boundaries, and there should be a hell of a lot more of it, and this is one of the things as marketers we can actually encourage. We can make the world a less gendered, less binary place, and we should do that, because it's good business and good ethics. Stage 2 on the list here is the socio-economic conditions. These are things like your income, your class status. Australia is a very stratified, class-driven society because we tell everyone we're not. Therefore, we are actually really, really clearly designated boundaries of lower class, middle class, upper middle class, upper class, high upper class, the 1%. There are a lot of stratifications in socioeconomic that are resident within the Australian Bureau of Statistics and their annual reports. There are also lots of data sources and breakdowns of things like your classification in a socioeconomic index based on your age, your presumed earning power because of your presumed average job, your number of average children, whether you have them or not, and this is all calculated to give you a sort of sense of where you sit on the socioeconomic spectrum. Again, socioeconomic, because it's class, has a level of class orientation. Segmentation in class structures is ethically interesting because you can target products to the upper class, and the aim is to say that ownership of this product shows that you're rich, or you've arrived, or you've made it. Where the target audience isn't actually the upper class themselves, you're just trying to position it so that, like, this is a rich person's car, so that your upper middle class, your aspirant social climbers buy your product. And you're doing that entirely out of the socio-economic play, the economic playbook. Third option on the list is stage of life. Now, I briefly mentioned this crossing over. You are university students. You are those of you who are living at home versus those of you who have moved out of home versus those of you who are now settling into steady permanent relationships and looking at home ownership versus those of you who are looking at dual income, no kid families for a period versus as soon as we get our degrees, it's time to have some children. All of these aspects, the stage of life will determine the things that you are most likely to be interested in wanting to buy. If you are in your early 40s with no children and no intention of having children, then you're probably not the ideal market for primary school literature, and you probably don't want to be living next door to a preschool, because that's a completely useless feature for you. On the other hand, if you are a recently married, just looking to settle down and start the family, then you're probably wanting the easy walking distance to shops, schools and childcare. That could be, by the stage of life alone, a reason to segment around wants to start a family, what products are they going to want, let's set up our segments around that. Similarly, we've got clusters of people, the empty nesters, where the kids have moved out, and the parents are now downsizing the home, versus the empty nest 2, which is the kids have moved back in and then moved back out again. The reunified family, where one of the children has moved back in with the parents to look after the parents in their old age. All stage of life, all based on age and what it is you're trying to do with your life at this point, at the age you are. But you'll note that's still a crude mechanism. Someone who's 25, settling down with a couple of kids, could be absolutely wanting the most high-tech toys on the planet, the biggest TV set and the best computer. And the same age and the same desires could be all about the outdoor lifestyle and the pony club, and the same age and same desire, same profile, could be entirely about the organic lifestyle and no TV and no electronics. So it's a useful mechanism, but it's not a perfect mechanism. Fourth on the list is lifestyle, which is basically how you consume, what you do, what your hours are, how you live your life. It's a link between stage of life, the cliche, the stereotype, the assumptions about you're at this point in your life, you've got these things you're going to do, versus how you actually live. Are you actively engaged in sport? Are you politically motivated? What are the things that occupy your life? How do you approach, is work a priority? Is there work-life balance? What are these factors? The final item on the list is the psychography. This is market segmentation based on a lot of those features from consumer behaviour last week, which talked about things like your innovativeness or your novelty-seeking tendency. And these elements are really hard to capture, but they are the richest of the data sets and the most valuable. Now, before we progress, the first of the most powerful ethical questions you have to ask yourself in segmentation is, to what extent am I perpetuating stereotypes through the development and use of my market segments? Stereotypes are cognitive shorthands based on key identifiable variables. And the nature of the segment is that you're trying to reduce the complexity of the human experience down to a cognitive shorthand so you can make business decisions. You can challenge and break stereotypes through segmentation, but you can equally support stereotypes. Your decision that you have to live with and you have to deal with and you have to make for yourself is, how will you address the presence of stereotypes in your data and your decision making? Because you don't have to work to the assumption that, oh, it is a product for female consumers, therefore it is pink. Auto process, let's place a pink ribbon on it, that will sell. It is product for category boy, therefore colour code equal blue. Given that in the pre-1950s, blue was a soft, feminine colour that let girls explore their gentler side, and pink was a strong, powerful, masculine colour that showed power and potency. And the dice stuff flipped over at some point, and pink was the soft, feminine side, and blue was the power, masculinity. Because there's nothing more powerful and masculine than a light shade of blue. Or maybe aqua. Chartreuse, turquoise maybe. So again, you've got options, but you've got consequences from those options. When you choose to target women by coating everything in pink, you are perpetuating a cycle. It is your choice to say no, it doesn't have to be pink colour coded to be for female users. It can be any colour. You don't have to. People aren't going to pick up your PlayStation 2 and start playing it just because it's coloured blue. You'll note also that pink for girls, black for boys has been the prototype, stereotype, gender segmentation approach done by video game companies. Nintendo went out and said, here's a plan. Why don't we make white, black, red, blue, green, and stripes as our Nintendo platform? So whatever colour that fits your lounge room, you can buy that. Versus, here is your gender identifier tag, wear it. So segmentation is a complex field because it does have ethical minefields all throughout it. Because one of the other issues that you're going to start having is the segmentation now by behaviour is actually excruciatingly problematic from an ethical standpoint, but brilliant from a business standpoint. And this is, do you target the user of your product, those who are already working with your products, use your products, or do you target the non-users? Now, your flashback moment here is that there is a model that we talked about in strategy. It was the last slide in strategy. It will appear again in this set. For the user, non-user, this is a marketing strategy decision. This is, do I target the people who I already have a relationship with, who already consume my products, or do I target people who are new to me? The ethically interesting parameter is targeting the usage levels. Should we encourage light users to become medium users to become heavy users, and heavy users to become super users? If we are talking about products like alcohol, cigarettes, high-fat food, is it ethical to move them from light and medium to heavy use when there are no consequences? Gambling, anything with addictive propensities, but also car driving, petrol consumption, carbon tax, electronics. Should we encourage the light use of computing to become the heavy use of computing so that you use more electricity, you spend more time at home, more time with the lights on at night, but have a higher carbon footprint? And again, just to really throw you here is, should gyms encourage you to train more frequently? Turn the light user to the medium user to the heavy user by encouraging perhaps body dysmorphia general problems with dissatisfaction about body image, obsessive exercise regimes, and health damaging levels of consumption. What about diet products, weight loss products, health food claims? All of these aspects of consumption where we are increasing the level to which you use a product. This is a question where you have to ask, is it for benefit to the customer and the society at large for them to increase their consumption? Even the most overtly, look, this would be a great plan, ethically produced, locally sourced, organic food. If we move people from light to medium use, will we actually start putting too much strain on the ecosystem that's made these ethically, organically, environmentally friendly produced products? Can they actually handle the strain of being moved from light use to moderate use to heavy use? See, segmentation by behaviour. The other thing is, if you are targeting your heavy use behaviours, are you taking too much of their resources? Are you taking too much away from them? So there's a whole lot of interesting things that can happen in segmentation by behaviour. The other split here is the segmentation by consumption situation. Again, consumer behaviour is in play here. Usage situations. The bottle of wine that you buy to celebrate a birthday with your family versus the bottle of wine you buy because it's Friday night and your mates are coming around to watch the football, versus the, assuming you're buying a bottle of wine, but also the beer you would serve to friends for a dinner versus a beer you serve for a barbecue. You have usage situations, you also have specific occasion segmentation, where for no apparent reason we're all willing to spend between $7 and $10 for a pre-printed piece of card that carries a generic greeting written by a bunch of copywriters from the 1950s. Happy birthday, I got you a piece of printed card. But on specific occasions it makes sense. This is context, the consumer context, and it's worth thinking, well, will my product be best served by me targeting specific occasions for its use? There was a reason that the phrase a Kodak moment entered the vocabulary, because the film company, camera company Kodak, targeted the specific occasions of memories you want to keep. Unfortunately, iPhone swept through and just completely trashed that with memories you can broadcast here and now. Memories you can in fact broadcast before they become memories. Alright, so segmentation, how you operate with that is going to be pick the broad category, slice it up, break it up. Because you need to have sliced and diced and set up a market and set up a series of segments before you can pick one. Because ultimately in segmentation, what you're doing first is you're actually just going and saying, this is my set of choices, these are my options. What becomes interesting for you and the beginning of the real challenges in the marketing plan exercise is that you now are going to have to make a decision. And that decision is, which market is important to you? So your segmentation becomes a question of, here are my choices, here are my options, which one of these is the best one for me? Now many of you are going to find this to be a really confronting process, a really challenging and difficult process, because you may find yourself with multiple options that look good, but you're only allowed to use one. And I found historically that this was the area that many marketing students would go, no, I want to target all three. The three different, nice amount of revenue here, nice earner here, but they're going to respond in 3 different ways. You can't do that. You've got to pick one. Particularly since this is a simulation game, what you do in the real world is you pop 3 marketing plans up, but here you only get to pick one, so you've got to pick your target. One shot, one plan. Now, in terms of the evaluation of these targets, this is where you're going to be deliberate and show you're working. You are going to do evaluation in the planning process. I will probably never see your evaluations of these segments because this is for you. This is your decision-making protocol. This is how you will make your choice. What you will do for me is you will report the end result. In the section in the marketing plan that talks about consumers, you will tell me the details of your segment, but you won't show me the targeting process you went through. So the question of the targeting process is actually in order of importance. Can you measure the segment? Is the segment profitable? Can you communicate with this segment? Can you meet the needs of the segment? And is the segment sufficiently distinct? That is, if you put an offer to them, are they likely to respond in a similar manner, but sufficiently different from other segments? Now that last question, if they're not sufficiently different from other segments, you've probably gone too far in your segmentation strategy, slice the market a little too thin, and you can start amalgamating, consolidating some of your segments. But each of these are critical questions. Can you identify and measure the market? Can you actually find where it is and give yourself details about it? Can you reach them to communicate to them? If you offer them a product, are they going to be interested in it? With the needs you have identified, will your product actually solve any of the problems they have, satisfy any of those needs or wants? And can you do all of that and turn a profit? Because if you can, you found your market segment, you found your target, work with it. So, once you've run through this and you've picked a couple of targets, build yourself a segment profile. Outline the typical average person who is in your segment. Who are they? Where do you find them? What do they read? What do they watch? What websites do they go to? What do they buy? What else do they buy? As well as your product, what else do they buy? How old are they? What suburbs do they live in? Build up a profile. Be able to describe your consumer. Because partly that's going to make it really, really easier on you when it comes time to making decisions with the marketing mix if you've got a prototypical person in mind that you're making the offer to. And secondly, you've got 400-ish words to spend on describing your consumer to me. This would be a nifty time to break out a segment profile. Also, there's a bucket load of places that you can use citations for reference in segment profiles, which would be kind of handy for you. Alright, so at this point, your headspace is at, I have sliced up my market with a big picture, brought it down to some smaller opportunities and options, and now, having run a few different profiles, having 2 or 3, upwards of about 5, at best, worst, different segment profiles, what's my game plan? What's my strategy? Now, I'm going to talk you through undifferentiated marketing, and I will sound pained because I think it's actually a really awkward thing to teach the intro students. Because the things that are important are differentiated, concentrated, and customized. But occasionally there is a need to break out on differentiated markers, but only very rarely. And for the assessment tasks, I'd really love for you to focus differentiated, concentrated, and customized, and pick one out of that area and work with that. Also, as far as a dead sitter giveaway, hey, this would be a good time to go do some external research, way to up my citation use. Go read up on segmentation. Go look at other people's strategies. Go look for articles that talk about segmentation, how to segment. Go look for discussions about differentiated, concentrated, customized marketing. Read up on the concept of the the marketplace of one, the mass customization, all these different targeting strategies, all these different segmentation strategies. This is an opportunity for you to explore, pick up some knowledge, and then apply it. Both marketing plan or your other assessment tasks. So, good opportunity to do some personal development, personal exploration. Okay, so here's how it works. Undifferentiated marketing, let's talk about this one at the top. Undifferentiated marketing is a really crude approach, and it's also a crude way to describe something like, say, Coca-Cola or Pepsi. And we'll take Coca-Cola as the example. Undifferentiated marketing from the Coca-Cola perspective would be Coke cans everywhere. You can get Coke at the cricket, you can get Coke at football, outside this lecture theatre, every 7-Eleven, every IGA, every store. So you could argue that Coke is a mass undifferentiated, it's in a can, it's called Coke, it's there. But, and this is the caveat, I can also tell you about Coca-Cola's differentiated marketing strategy that uses each one of those outlets I just mentioned as potentially its undifferentiated as points of differentiation. The Coke machine that vends you the can that's conveniently located so that you're buying a can based on convenience versus the Coke that's available in the nightclub so that you've got the rum and Coke, which is a different segment, versus the Coke that's available at the football because it's a different segment again, versus the package deal of the 600ml bottle plus the pie, versus all of these differentiated, where you're using how someone will consume the drink as a means to create different targeted segments. So you can use it for different, you do your differentiated marketing based on the use the drink will have. The differentiated marketing approach also is a really great approach of where you've got a product that's got multiple uses and you can go and actually emphasize those different uses. The concentrated marketing is basically also known as niche marketing, where you are going to take one segment and really hone in on that segment. This is a great way to start. When you've got a new product into the market, you find one group who are going to go for it and then work on expanding from there. Concentrated marketing quite often is also assigned and attached to something like a differentiation strategy. Customized marketing is basically where you are trying to bring it down to the smallest segment you can. And this is, again, where mass customization kicks in and makes it shows up as potential ways that even Coke was able to do this with bulk printed Coca-Cola cans that had names, I'd like to share a Coke with name, and the year cans that are currently doing the rounds. Technically, when they were starting to put in a whole bunch of different names and rare, uncommon names, that they weren't actually doing this in response to the people on the Facebook page going, hey, you haven't mentioned my name yet. But what they were giving the impression of doing was through differentiated marketing and through customizing, making it look like they were individually addressing people. The other thing with customized marketing is that this tends to show up where you've got a much greater engagement between the customer and the organisation. A lot of this will be talked about again in services marketing, but where there's room for negotiation, where the service is created in conjunction with both customer and provider. Okay, so each strategy has its own strength and weakness, and what your challenge is going to be is to pick which one of these segmentation strategies best suits your marketing plan and best fits in alignment with one of your marketing strategies. And this is the hook, and this is where we're going to end up, where we're going to end the pre-record. A marketing strategy, a growth strategy that looks to increase the sale of existing products to existing markets will have a distinct segmentation approach that it must use and it should use to create that strategic opportunity. Similarly, if you take a strategy of product development where you've got new products going to existing markets, it's a different set of segments than if you're going to go and introduce a new product to a new market or an existing product to a new market. All of your segments and your segmentation approach has to be driven off your overall strategy. So what you now are faced with the challenge of doing is linking your planning process, linking the thoughts back together. You know now that in order to do a successful segmentation, it has to connect to the strategy that's guiding the overall plan. To pick the segment and get the segment fine-tuned enough, you need to use the consumer behaviour aspect so you can talk about your individual segment. And then you have to pick which approach as segmenting that you want to use. Now I'm going to leave the pre at this point. We will also need to talk about positioning. But positioning is something that I want you to be able to talk about in terms of the context of your planned product. So positioning will get talked about in lecture, but positioning is something that also links back to the marketing mix. So, in a recap reminder, to prepare for the in-class activity, you need to be underway on your marketing plan now. You need to be able to talk to me or to Dr. Bell about the product you're selecting and who's likely to be your target audience. And then we can start working you through, workshopping, getting you underway in an actual, really practical, hands-on marketing activity, which is picking your segment. For those of you who want to get your hands dirty and want to get some practical experience, this is it. Your time is now. So, with that in mind, the preparations you need to make, the pre-record comes to a conclusion.